Chapter 19. Mr. Musk Goes to Washington. SpaceX 2002 to 2003. Gwynne Shotwell. Musk does not naturally partner with people, either personally or professionally. At Zip2 and PayPal, he showed he could inspire, frighten, and sometimes bully colleagues. But collegiality was not part of his skill set, and deference not in his nature. He does not like to share power. One of the few exceptions was his relationship with Gwynne Shotwell, who joined SpaceX in 2002 and eventually became its president. She has worked with Musk sitting in a cubicle right next to his at SpaceX headquarters in Los Angeles for more than 20 years, longer than anyone else. Direct, sharp-spoken, and bold, she prides herself on being mouthy without crossing the line into disrespect, and she has the pleasant confidence of the high school basketball player and cheerleading captain she once was. Her easygoing assertiveness allows her to speak honestly to Musk without rankling him, and to push back against his excesses while not nannying him. She can treat him almost like a peer, but still show deference, never forgetting that he's the founder and boss. Born Gwynne Rowley, she grew up in a suburban village north of Chicago. When she was a sophomore in high school, she went with her mother to a panel of the Society of Women Engineers, where she became fascinated by a well-dressed mechanical engineer who had her own construction business. "I want to be like her," she said, and decided to apply to the engineering school at nearby Northwestern University. "I applied because of Northwestern's richness in other fields," she later told students there. "I was terrified of being tagged as a nerd. Now I'm super proud to be one." As she was walking to a job interview with IBM's Chicago area office in 1986, she stopped to watch a television in a store window that was broadcasting the launch of the Space Shuttle Challenger, with teacher Krista McAuliffe aboard. What was supposed to be an inspirational moment turned to horror when the Challenger exploded a minute after takeoff. Shotwell was so shaken that she didn't get the job. "I must have really sucked eggs on the interview." Eventually, she was hired by Chrysler in Detroit, then moved to California, where she became head of space systems sales for Microcosm Inc., a startup consulting firm in the same neighborhood as SpaceX. At Microcosm, she worked with an adventurous, rugged-faced German engineer named Hans Königsmann, who met Musk at one of the weekend gatherings of rocket-launching hobbyists in the Mojave Desert. Musk subsequently went to his house to recruit him, and in May 2002, he became SpaceX's fourth employee. To help him celebrate, Shotwell took Königsmann to their favorite neighborhood lunch place, a bright yellow Austrian restaurant called Chef Hannes. Then she drove Königsmann a few blocks down the street to drop him off at SpaceX. "Come on in," he told her. "You can meet Elon." She found herself impressed with Musk's ideas for reducing the costs of rockets and making the parts in-house. He knew the details, she says, but she thought the team was clueless about how to sell its services. "The guy you have doing discussions with possible customers is a loser," she told him bluntly. The next day, she got a call from Musk's assistant, who said that he wanted to talk to her about becoming vice president of business development. Shotwell had 2 kids, was going through a divorce, and was about to turn 40. The idea of joining a risky startup run by a mercurial millionaire did not have much appeal. She spent 3 weeks considering it before concluding that SpaceX had the potential to transform the sclerotic rocket industry into something that was innovative. "I've been a fucking idiot," she told him. "I'll take the job." She became the company's 7th employee. Shotwell has a special insight that helps her when dealing with Musk. Her husband has the autism spectrum disorder commonly called Asperger's. People like Elon with Asperger's don't take social cues and don't naturally think about the impact of what they say on other people, she says. Elon understands personalities very well, but as a study, not as an emotion. Asperger's can make a person seem to lack empathy. Elon is not an ass, and yet sometimes he will say things that are very assholey, she says. He just doesn't think about the personal impact of what he's saying. He just wants to fulfill the mission. She does not try to change him, just salve people who get singed. Part of my job is to tend to the wounded, she says. It also helps that she is an engineer. I'm not at his level, but I'm not an idiot. I understand the stuff he's saying, she says. I listen hard, take him seriously, read his intentions, and try to achieve what he wants, even if what he is saying seems crazy initially. When she insists to me that he tends to be right, it can sound as if she's a sycophant, but she actually isn't. She speaks her mind to him and gets annoyed at those who don't. She names a couple of them and says they work their asses off, but they are chicken shits around Elon. Wooing NASA. A few months after she joined SpaceX in 2003, Shotwell and Musk traveled to Washington. Their goal was to win a contract from the Defense Department to launch a new breed of small tactical communications satellites known as TACSAT that would allow commanders of ground forces to get imagery and other data quickly. They went to a Chinese restaurant near the Pentagon and Musk broke his tooth. Embarrassed, he kept putting his hand over his mouth until she started laughing at him. It was the funniest thing watching him try to hide it. They were able to find a late-night dentist who made a temporary cap so that Musk would be presentable for their Pentagon meeting the next morning. There, they sealed the contract, SpaceX's first, for $3.5 million. To drum up public awareness about SpaceX, Musk in December 2003 brought a Falcon 1 rocket to Washington for a public event outside of the National Air and Space Museum. SpaceX built a special trailer with a bright blue cradle to haul the 7-story rocket from Los Angeles, and Musk ordered a production crunch with a crazy deadline to get a prototype of the rocket ready for the trip. To many of the company's engineers, this seemed like a mammoth distraction, but when the rocket was paraded up Independence Avenue with a police escort, it impressed Sean O'Keefe, the administrator of NASA. He dispatched one of his deputies, Liam Sarsfield, to California to assess the spunky startup. SpaceX presents good products and solid potential, Sarsfield reported back. NASA investment in this venture is well warranted. Sarsfield admired Musk's hunger for information on highly technical issues, ranging from the docking system of the International Space Station to the ways that engines can overheat. They engaged in an extended email correspondence on these and other issues. But in February 2004, the exchange grew testy when NASA awarded a $227 million contract without competitive bidding to a rival private rocket company, Kistler Aerospace. The contract was for rockets that could resupply the International Space Station, something that Musk, rightly, as it turned out, thought SpaceX could do. Sarsfield made the mistake of giving Musk an honest explanation. Kistler had been awarded the no-bid contract, he wrote, because its financial arrangements are shaky and NASA did not want it to go bankrupt. There would be other contracts for SpaceX to bid on, Sarsfield assured Musk. That infuriated Musk, who contended that NASA should be in the business of promoting innovation, not propping up companies. Musk met with officials at NASA headquarters in May 2004 and, ignoring the advice of Shotwell, decided to sue them over the Kistler contract. Everyone told me that it might mean we would never be able to work with NASA, Musk says, but what they did was wrong and corrupt, so I sued. He even threw Sarsfield, his strongest advocate within NASA, under the bus by including in the lawsuit his friendly email explaining that the contract was meant to be a lifeline for Kistler. SpaceX ended up winning the dispute, and NASA was ordered to open the project to competitive bidding. SpaceX was able to win a significant portion of it. That was a huge upset, literally imagine like a 10-to-1 odds underdog winning, Musk told the Washington Post's Christian Davenport. It blew everyone's mind. Fixed-price contracts. The victory was crucial, not only for SpaceX, but for the American space program. It promoted an alternative to the cost-plus contracts that NASA and the Defense Department had generally been using. Under those contracts, the government kept control of a project such as building a new rocket or engine or satellite and issued detailed specifications of what it wanted done. It would then award contracts to big companies such as Boeing or Lockheed Martin, which would be paid all of their costs plus a guaranteed profit. This approach became standard during World War II to give the government complete control over the development of weapons and to prevent the perception that contractors were war profiteering. On his trip to Washington, Musk testified before a Senate committee and pushed a different approach. The problem with a cost-plus system, he argued, was that it stymied innovation. If the project went over budget, the contractor would get paid more. There was little incentive for the cozy club of cost-plus contractors to take risks, be creative, work fast, or cut costs. Boeing and Lockheed just want their cost-plus gravy trains, he says. You just can't get to Mars with that system. They have an incentive never to finish. If you never finish a cost-plus contract, then you suckle on the tit of the government forever. SpaceX pioneered an alternative in which private companies bid on performing a specific task or mission, such as launching government payloads into orbit. The company risked its own capital, and it would be paid only if and when it delivered on certain milestones. This outcomes-based, fixed-priced contracting allowed the private company to control, within broad parameters, how its rockets were designed and built. There was a lot of money to be made if it built a cost-efficient rocket that succeeded, and a lot of money to be lost if it failed. It rewards results rather than waste, Musk says.